you're the grandson of Sam Manekshaw. How does it feel to be the grandson of such a legend?
I think what he said to me, which stuck with me, was do whatever you want in life, but be the best at it. You die 2 times. Once when you die and once when people forget you, and both are going to happen.
Theatre and life is like absolutely the same. You don't get any retake in life. If I say one wrong word to you now, my karma is done.
When you look at spirituality, it says this is also a role we are playing and you'll go into a new role. Doesn't matter, everybody's playing a role.
Everyone's going to play their part their way. You cannot allow your script and your role to get influenced by their script and their role. Now take this back into life.
Theatre as a tool is much more powerful than theatre as a subject, which is why in schools we have been pushing for teachers. Give this as a set of tools so that the kid is on their feet learning.
If the topper of the class is in a play, plays the role of the failed child, and the failed child plays the role of the topper of the class, it will teach both of them the emotion and the experience of what the other's feeling. You develop a healthy respect. A very warm welcome to another edition of our ThinkRight Podcast. And we have someone with us here today who is going to take us onto a discussion or a topic which is very different from what we have covered in our podcast so far. We have Jehan Manekshaw, who is a managing director and the founder of the Drama School Mumbai. He's also formed the Theatre Professionals Education and is really going to make us think about the things that we've always heard in the past, right? Shakespeare said, life is but a stage and we are all actors in it. Or, the meaning of everything of theatre is not before and after, it is all in the now. There's so many aspects of theatre that enable one to live a mindful life. And I think this is the subject we're going to try and unravel today in this podcast. And thank you, Jehan, for being here with us, and bringing this very unique, aspect of mindfulness and, the way to live life, onto this platform. And of course, we have with us our ever radiant sister Shivani. I mean, you can see the glow there, and the energy here is what we are all going to feel together, because theatre is actually about the energy between the people acting, the people witnessing, the energy. And somehow today with with a mobile screen and with screens and with everybody being totally focused on that, are we missing something that has been there traditionally and historically been a driver of elevating a human experience, right? Being and spending 3 hours entertaining yourself or 2 hours, whatever, in that manner, compared to the way we're going to do that. But before we get there, would love to understand a little bit of your journey and how you've dedicated your life and career to theatre.
Gosh, thank you so much for having me and giving me this opportunity also to sort of foreground what theatre can do and be for society. I really appreciate that. And it's interesting that it's in a conversation around mindfulness and mindful living, because it ultimately, when I think about even just my own life and my own practice, now I spend more of my time being an entrepreneur and trying to do all of these things around how to make all my work happen. But anytime I want to center myself or find myself, I have to just walk into the rehearsal room or walk into the classroom where drama is being taught and sit among the students and watch them work. There's something about that space and about people being together that gives us this sort of centering and knowing who you are, but more importantly, knowing who you are with the people around you. And that, I think, brings me to how I found my place in it, because I think I was very lost in my late teens, early 20s, tweens, whatever they're called. And I didn't know what I wanted to do in life. I tried law school for a year. I hated it. It just wasn't for me. And then I went to a liberal arts college in the US. And over there, I found myself thinking about not knowing what subjects to take. It was like, a kid who's never seen a supermarket walk into a supermarket where you can choose for so many things. and so lost. And it caused a lot of mental stress, underconfidence, all kinds of things. But then I think I found the theatre department there. And on the first day, I walked in and said, so what can I do here? They gave me a broom and said, sweep the stage. That's your first class. And that act of just sweeping the stage became like a small thing in the here and now that at the end of it, I felt like I'd achieved something, right? And then if you take that further, the act of making plays, you start off at the beginning of a rehearsal process with an empty space. And by the time you are done by the evening, there's a whole scene there, there's a whole world there. We have created a whole story there. By the time you do a production, audience comes in, they see a black space. And 2 hours later, they've been transported on a whole story. And then they come back to this space. And then it's black again. And the next day it can be something else, and then something else, and then something else. And so I just loved that. I loved that with my hands and my imagination and my mind, my body, I can make something. And it wasn't working at some intellectual level. It was the only place where I felt whole, if that makes sense. You know, you reach that, they call it the flow state. You're just in a flow state. And I think it was that love that made me just stick with it. And then that became my sort of career.
Amazing. I mean, you know, getting into that, you call it the flow state, or the state from where creativity, you know, just shines through you. And I think this power exists in every human being, right?
All of us, I think, have that innate sanskar. And if you see, everyone likes to do it. We've all grown up doing it in school. We've all done it in our own little small ways. But then somewhere where we grew up, we stopped being a part of it. Leave alone going and witnessing, but we were even doing it before. So if we start, these are these little things, if we start doing, then mindfulness in action. Because what is theatre? You have to be mindful constantly. Constantly. It's not like a movie. You don't have a retake. You can't have a retake. You don't have an edit. You can't do anything. So your every thought, your every emotion, your every gesture, the way you speak, everything it's only now. That's why it's only now. If you do it now, it's fine. Otherwise, you've lost it. And that's exactly how we have to live life. So theatre and life is like absolutely the same. Theatre and life is absolutely the same. You don't get any retake in life. If I say one wrong word to you now, my karma is done. I can't edit it. I can't retake it. So the power of being in the now, we read books, the power of being in the now, but how to do it, that's theatre is teaching you. So if anybody learns it through theatre, I don't know, but if anybody learns it through theatre, they should be able to do it in life also. It might become easier for them to do in life, maybe.
Yeah, I think, many books, especially from the West, and say enlightenment is, just being able to live 24/7, 365 days in the moment, like how we are right now, nothing before, nothing after. And that will keep you in a state of joyfulness, connectedness, abundance, fulfillment. But you have taken this up as a profession, so you get this. How do you translate this to other people, right? Because through a drama school in training, so when you look at people who are coming in, do you look for people who already have that orientation, or you'll take anyone and you will teach this? So take us a little bit through on how do you, how do we make more people, if assuming great theatre artists are mindful, good for society, what do you teach them?
I think, so when I first started the drama school back in 2013, this was with a motivation to create an ecosystem that was all about making great plays, and so that I could be a director and have my flow state for myself very selfishly, okay? I was like, we need a robust ecosystem so we can make professional plays that are viable. And from the whole, just from the professional side of it, I wanted to have a viable career in India, and there was not an ecosystem which I was happy with. So I said, we'll start a drama school and train people to be professionals. So we start working at a new level, and all of that happened. But somewhere along the line, exactly what ma'am was saying and what you were saying over here also, is that it was in the third year of the school. After a performance, I met a father who came in, and one of the students, and he was a principal of a school here. And he said, my son was lost over the last 3 years, but he's come to this school and he's become a better human being, you know? And I was busy running life, not living in the present because I was worried about building an organization. What's next? What next? What next? But somewhere that stuck with me, and it sort of just percolated in, which is actually, this is all bonus. To create a good play, to have a drama school that creates good actors is all bonus. If at the end of the year, those students who are all desiring to become actors or tell stories or all of that, at the end of the year, if they have just become that much better, they've become more self-aware, they've learned to stay in the present, they've learned to commune with each other in real time and space, problem solve together, collaborate together, go through crisis and conflict together. Drama is not something that is very, when we say professional theatre, it's still in the profession also is emoting and dealing with your emotions and all, right? So for them to be, to deal with their emotions and bring their emotions into the space, and now suddenly I can also relate to each other emotionally and build that socio-emotional intelligence. All of that is there. As far as I'm concerned, you were talking about theatre and life. What a beautiful way of looking at it. Theatre is rehearsal for life. And so for us, and for the drama school, yes, at one level, we are just putting more trained professionals into the ecosystem. They go on to be actors, directors, writers. Some go off to be drama educators in schools. Some go off to even work in the field of mental health. So there are all these places where this applies. To your question about the students coming to our school, they want to be actors and directors. But I hope that they leave fundamentally being better human beings, and also realizing that the skill set that they have taken on is not just for that professional application, but how it's transferred to them. And can they take what is transferred to them and give that journey to other people? Because I think our broader mission is to see if we can weave access to theatre and participation in theatre and the experience of theatre back into the fabric of everyday's social experience, so that we all find it readily accessible. If you want to be part of a community play thing in the evenings, you should be able to do that. If you want a bonding exercise at your company, you should be able to do that. I want theatre in everyday life, the way it is in some countries. I think it needs to be, it was here. I think it needs to come back.
Can theatre become a medium for a larger spiritual awakening? You know, we keep talking about the world today being, so complex, uncertain. We need to create stronger inner beings. So one of the things that we've been discussing so far is, yes, can it become a medium? Can it become that mainstream? I'm going a little for, in a spiritual organization, is there room for theatre? I'm just thinking aloud.
Within a spiritual organization.
Or how? How can theatre become a medium for a larger spiritual awakening? If we were to think of that question.
Spiritual awakening is different. It is because, see again, why theatre is life? Because you have, in life also, if we understand, we have control only over how we play our role and what's going to be my script, okay? Today, if I see in my mind, I keep writing other people's script. They should have not said this, he should have not said this, he could have done it like this, she could have said it like this. I'm not focusing on what is my script. I'm not focusing on my role. I'm only looking at other people's role, okay? So now theatre will teach me this, that, everyone's the actor. So that's when you say the world is a stage, everyone's an actor. Everyone's going to play their part their way. Everyone will say their script their way. Their dialogues are theirs. Yours have to be yours. You cannot allow your script and your role to get influenced by their script and their role. Now take this back into life and start living life that way. You will become emotionally independent. Because today what's happening, you say something, I change. Then he says something, I change. I'm not holding on to my role and my script. So that is another thing that theatre will teach me to do. That, even, okay, suppose you forget your script. Let's say there's a drama going on stage and you forget your script. I won't stand there and say, Rajan, why didn't you say this? You should have. No, I will continue with my script. And I know with my script and my vibration, you will suddenly remember your lines. We have to do this in life. Someone's not saying something the right way. Don't stop and say, but you shouldn't have done. You do your right way. If you're doing your right way, your vibration, your words will give them the energy to be the right way. So how you'll do it on stage, if you learn that skill and bring it into life, it's going to change you as a person completely. And that's actually what we need to be, a spiritual person. Absolutely aware of every thought, every line of the script, and the soul, understanding that this is a role, but bringing the sanskar of the soul in the role, understanding everyone's playing their own roles, not getting influenced by their role and changing your script, but sticking to your script and radiating that energy. So I think that's spiritually very energizing.
Why in India, in our education system, theatre is always an extra curriculum, right? Like my daughter, when she did IB, she actually, in her 6th classes, she chose theatre, either as a HL or an SL, kind of thing, even at the age of 16, 18, right? Because theatre, have you studied that ecosystem? Because what you said, where you ended your last statement, it used to be part of India a lot. Why has it got eroded? I mean, when you look at the ecosystem.
So I think that's a very big question. But I think that what's happened is with the very sort of productization of everything, the organization of everything, the structuring of everything, the compartmentalization of everything, even theatre got put into a box. If we look at just the school timetable. And for the most part, everyone somewhere understands that, yes, it's good for your development. Children become confident, or the confident children will enjoy theatre. And it's become that bolt-on idea. And that is theatre as a subject. They learn to act well, speak well, learn their lines. Some of them can go on to be actors and all for that. And it has the lowest rung in terms of job opportunities, etc. And they think of it very functionally. And I think the request over here and the mission that we should all reframe it and look at theatre and drama as a knowledge system or as a methodology for social good. Because of what it does to the people experiencing it. In the examples that I gave, sister gave, there is just how it trains us to be in the world, and how it helps us find our humanity. And so I think theatre as a tool is much more powerful than theatre as a subject, which is why in schools we have been pushing for teachers and principals and school leadership to say, give this as a set of tools to your teachers and let them use it across subjects and curriculum, so that the kid is on their feet learning, the kid is doing the kid is figuring out ways to represent the whole thing, not just with their mind at a desk, but in body. Instead of learning the subject on my own as a single human being, we'll do group work together. And there are multiple educational methodologies and systems and all. They talk about circle time, they talk about group study, they talk about project-based learning. All of this is already inherent in all the practices that come in drama. So I think it's really important to sort of reframe how theatre can be. On the ecosystem front, it's a much bigger question. Do we have the time for it? But I think there's a lot of theatre and a lot of art and culture in our country. But I think it's all in a kind of a cottage industry state. And there hasn't been a chance for it to all come together in a movement because of, I think, all of the other forces at work that have kind of washed over everything. We are look at technology, etc. We are suddenly having to refine ourselves and realize that we cannot work in such isolated silos. We have to remember to see each other and recognize each other and be with each other. And I think theatre is a very good tool with which to do that, or it provides a very good framework with which to commune.
No, and if you passionately believe it, right? Every big change in the world or in any country has happened through the courage of one person, few people coming together. What I'm trying to get at is, if this is an ecosystem change that is required, and as a society we need to see what would, how can we envision an Indian society 10 years later where young kids are actually using these tools, and what will it take? I mean, I'm posing that question because I'm sure a lot of the people listening to this podcast, young people who are passionate about it, or elderly people or others who are invested in this idea, can rally behind something like this to make it happen. And for you, that should be easy. I mean, you're the grandson of Sam Manekshaw, who has a legacy of bringing transformative change through his life.
Theater of war.
Don't you feel the pressure of? Okay, I mean, this is for a few minutes. Let's talk about how does it feel to be the grandson of such a legend, and tell us a little bit about some anecdotes with your experience from him, and what have you learned? Maybe it shaped you in a particular way, and something that audiences could also benefit from.
I think it's funny. Many people ask me, why didn't you join the army, follow in your grandfather's footsteps, etc. And one of the things he had said to us very early, first of all, he always talked about the army as his job, as his profession, and how to be a professional soldier. So over there, it was like, do the work. The fact that all of that hard work, etc., made him who he was and all, is what we learned. We learned that the reason he became who he was, did what he did, succeeded in the ways he succeeded, was because he followed it as a profession and was a complete consummate professional about it. So when it came to us, it wasn't ki now this is gone from my profession to my jaidad, or something that now the children must do, and it must run, like the idea of a 4G family. And we've got some beautiful 4G families, not to take anything away from them, where it was inculcated differently. But in our case, I think what he said to me, which stuck with me, was do whatever you want in life, but be the best at it. And not like, look at me, I was a general, now I was the best field marshal or whatever, but be the best at it for yourself. The rest is luck. And he even talked about him being a field marshal was 99% hard work and 1% luck. And the way I have understood that is that when the luck came along, the 99% hard work that he did allowed the universe to conspire and launch him as far as it did. And that's the insight you get when you're with him. And so I think I take those values away from him for the most part. What it's like to be his grandson, apart from that, I mean, I think there must be some subconscious thing about wanting to leave a mark. But the more and more I grow, or learn along the life's journey, I think that the only mark I can leave is for myself, that I should be able to look back and say, "Maine acha kiya," because there's a great quote by an author called Raghu Karnad, where it says, "You die 2 times, once when you die and once when people forget you, and both are going to happen." So the only place it really matters is where I leave it with myself at the end of my life. And I think I'm slowly shifting in that direction.
And the only thing you can do
is
do what you're doing now.
And do what I'm doing now.
So we come back, to theatre in a circular way. But when we see Sam Manekshaw's journey, and we see, the people of character, the way the nation's been built, there should be inspiration, right, for society, and they inspire. What can we do to create more, a larger force for good, a larger, force of people who can unlock the best in themselves as they go? What does it take?
Talk more about the person than the performance, right from kindergarten. See, we are only focusing on performance, no? So anything you focus on, anything you prioritize, anything you award, you appreciate, you endorse, is what everybody will start focusing on. Nobody is talking about the sanskar of that child. Like sometimes I say if there are 2 children in a class, one is like always topper, but maybe egoistic, let's say, hypothetically, not sharing, not caring. And there's another one who's barely passing, but is very caring, very humble. But the world is going to say successful and failure. So then, where is it? So we are saying that one who is performing is successful. This person is not performing, doesn't matter. He or she has good sanskars. Failure. तुम्हारा क्या होगा जीवन में? तुम तो पास भी नहीं हो पाए. Which means sanskars are of no value in this world. You only have to perform. So we've just created a culture of performance and achievement. Awards are given only for performance and achievement, right from kindergarten to everything. So then that's what the world wants to be, because everybody wants to be successful. Successful is going to be the person. So right from school, if we start talking about the person, the sanskars, the nature, everybody will start focusing on them. We're not talking about that. We're only saying if you're excelling in what you do, you're successful. If you're not, you're a failure. So everybody wants to be successful. They're only focusing on that. And so the other side is automatically depleting. It's not remaining where it is, because in my that desire to only go there and then calling myself a failure if I don't, so I actually will deplete. So nurture everyone's sanskars, help them to create new sanskars by talking about it, by learning from each other, and then you're going to create wonderful sanskars going and doing excellent work. So again, Sankalp se Srishti, focus on the seed of every child who's come in kindergarten to focus on the seed. Even as parents, focus on the sanskar of the child. If you feel there's a sanskar which is not right, work on changing on that sanskar. Achievement will automatically then be more than their capacity. So person before performance is the culture we need to create. Right now, person is not important, only performance is important. Even when you're hiring people, you're an organization, you're hiring people, just hire for their performance. Someone may not be there, but that person would have that innate sanskar of sincerity, of honesty, of loyalty, of trust. That person will be an asset to an organization. Somebody has a sanskar of adapting, adjusting, being able to get people together. Someone has a sanskar of kindness and caring. That person will be an asset to an organization, but we're only looking at their performance and deciding whom we're going to hire. So, sanskar.
And like a play, you need every element in society. And, you raised such a lovely point. And, we were talking about schools and, theatre as a tool. If the topper of the class is in a play, plays the role of the failed child, and the failed child plays the role of the topper of the class.
So that's how we used to do role play.
You role play, it will teach both of them the emotion and the experience of what the other's feeling. You develop a healthy respect.
Yeah.
I'm just giving one example.
To stand in each other's shoes.
You stand in each other's shoes. Then that is role
empathy
play,
also
right?
it will teach
empathy.
us.
When you look at spirituality, it says this is also a role we are playing, and you'll go into a new role. Doesn't matter. Everybody is playing a role. So why judge them? Why criticize them? We'll create a better society if we can make, these are small things, but love to see how this can happen. And I don't think anybody will disagree about sensitizing people to this today. I don't think anybody, but we don't know how to make that happen.
Maybe we need to talk more about this. In the sense, I don't think people know, because even in school we used to do drama, but it was only counted as that extracurricular one subject. But of course we loved doing it, but we didn't know the power behind it. So if every parent, every teacher, every student knows the power behind it, especially in today's time when school children are going through depression and anxiety and panic attack, if a parent and a teacher and that child is informed about this power, I'm sure everybody would want to be a part of it. It's healing, basically.
More pressure on you, Jehan.
More pressure on me. I think you talked about performance and finding the sanskar. The way to, it's not vocabulary that I'm particularly familiar with, but I'm resonating and listening, because the way to find the sense of self is through process. And I'm listening to you and I'm just thinking about even my most successful students. I have them sometimes on an Insta Live conversation and all. And I'm like, you've arrived. And they're like, no, I haven't arrived. There is no arrival. Because even the ones who found that proverbial success realize that when you reach there, there's nothing. What they have said that what they want to do is they want to be in work. They want to be in a place where they're learning their lines in front of a camera, practicing, working, because somehow that is when they are in their flow state. And so they're constantly looking for that, because I think what that does for them is it feeds their souls. It feeds their beings. And especially in schools and in education to start with, but I actually think in later life also, because I think that all of us lost our sense of play. We lost our sense of what it is to stop, pause, breathe, see another person. Think about the last time you had a playful moment with a fellow adult. Think about that. Has there been one in the last 3 months, 6 months? How much fun it was to have just put everything down and find that inner child, for example, right?
The last was at that Aspen Fellowship.
Yeah, where you had to do a play. You had to act in a play. Exactly.
At the end of the fellowship, you have to put a play together with everyone, and each person picks a role, because over a year and a half, and this is the foremost leadership, platform in the world, and Ananta, and now I chair the board. And so, in adult, why can't corporates do plays, right? Why can't we see
they're great team building exercises.
Great team building, it can.
But more than that, it gets us to what Sister was saying about you suddenly recognize the people who work at your organization for who they are versus what product they serve.
How they perform.
Or how they perform. Yeah. And I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, the people who have stuck, we run a very small, scrappy office. But the people who have stuck to me are the people with whom I get a sense of who they are as people and what intention they come to the work with. And that is 10 times more important than what they came in with their CV. And I think that this is huge. If we look at theatre as process, if we look at, in fact, even theatre itself is just, it's role play, understanding character, understanding, as you said, the different characters come together in a moment and some conflict happens, but each comes with their own backstory, right? And then all you have is that moment and what you can do. And even your character will react according to where they came from. And so when an actor is doing this work, they suddenly learn how everyone is a product of their past, right? But all you have is that moment. And because they understand the tragedy of that moment, that obviously this person will choose to do something horrible instead of choose to do a good thing. There's this wonderful playwright called Bertolt Brecht, and he has this exercise called not but. In this moment, my character, maybe I'm playing Adolf Hitler, maybe I'm playing some horrible person. In this moment, my character does not choose to do that, but chooses to do this. And suddenly that mental exercise gives them an awareness of all the things that went into creating that choice. So what it does is it builds your understanding to think about why we do things the way we do, right? So all of that becomes the building sense. So if a child, even in a world where we pursue product, where we pursue accolades and certificates and marks and all of that, even there, if the child has learned this side parallelly, I think then they'll pursue it, but they'll pursue it knowing that that's not life or death.
That's detachment.
And the playfulness, and don't take life so seriously.
And all of that.
And the biggest thing is the impact this has on audiences. What we are missing in that wow moment, there's a clap. Because that person said some line which struck a chord. Because you don't force that clap. See, in a theatre, you find when an emotion resonates, everybody or large part, it moves. So because ultimately we are all human beings, right? We are all at the core. There's a commonality and there's a centrality and in a theatre you can actually see that moment.
The joy of that moment for the actor
it's like,
is that something that I did or something about my being
changed.
Met something about your being. Yeah. There was a resonance. We found each other.
Yeah.
There's a beautiful quote by Oscar Wilde that says, theatre is, I can't remember the exact quote, but it gives a human being a sense of what it is to be another human being. It gives human beings a sense of what it is to be each other. And it's just, if we have to be able to see our humanity in each other, because we are not isolated souls, we're all together, and we all sort of travel on this planet together. And so how can we somewhere be that, like, social beings connected with each other moving forward, versus disparate and isolated and individual?
Yeah, and that energy. That
Theatre would help in healing relationships of couples.
Please elaborate. I think many couples out there
Don't you
want
see?
to understand.
It's so easy, no? Because what is it when I don't want to live with you? Why? Because I can't understand you. You can't understand me. I can't accept you. You can't accept me. So if they go through this whole exercise of, maybe it's designed for that healing purpose, I'm sure. And because this is what also spirituality teaches, no? Understand they're a soul on a journey. What is it that is creating that sanskar? Or is it a carry forward from a past life? So earlier, like the couples, how they share their experience, earlier they would say, my husband should be like this, my wife should be like this. Now they say, no, not my husband, my wife, soul on a journey. And I don't know what they have carried with them. So, and they are not the cause of my pain. They are in pain. Just 3-4 thought processes that change, shifts from I am the victim of their behavior to they are a victim of what they are feeling right now. So it shifts me from being in pain to becoming the healer of the other person. Just that change of perspective, of not looking at them as a role, but understanding the actor behind the role. There is something that's happened either in this lifetime or as a child, or when that soul was in the womb of the mother, or that soul was in a past life. It just heals relationships. So how much theatre could also do the same thing? So I think anybody who goes for that mediation and counseling, they should do theatre with this.
For people who learn is theatre being used in healing?
There is drama-based therapy. There's even wider arts-based therapy. But it's all with the idea that if you tap into your own capacity for self-expression, and that exercises your own muscles for self-understanding, there's healing. There's this notion in theatre, in Greek theatre especially, the word is catharsis, where a role or an actor, there's a moment where they realize the great challenge of the hero's journey, for example. There's a cathartic moment. And in that cathartic moment, and also the moment where the audience watching has a moment of release because they see something play out on the stage that resonates with them, and it causes catharsis. And it's like a moment. It's a healing moment because it creates you express, and something that's been inside you has sort of comes out, right? And so, that's a very surface example. Obviously, there are many more people who are much more expert at this than I am, who will talk about each and every property of the healing power of drama, how it allows you to be seen. There's the whole concept of the drama safe space, where if we are in this space, we will be in this space without judgment, in any healthy, moderated space. So many of those practices find their way into therapy, group therapy, community therapy. And I think that whilst we go to the individual therapist, and that has a very strong role, I mean, I do individual therapy. And at some point, we've done partner therapy as well. But in all of that, I think we're social beings, and there's only so much you can figure out in isolation. You have to figure out it takes a village. Community. You have to figure out in community. Yeah. And it's really interesting that you would have talked about how it will help couples.
It will help in parenting also.
And in parenting.
It will help in parenting also. And that, like he said, in the corporate
it's in relationship. So this toolkit of theatre, applied across different things, packaged in a particular way, and then easy to deploy. In the technological world we live, taking this message out is relatively easier, but we have to, it has to strike that chord, that theatre, as a space, as a subject, like what you said, as a way
methodology,
of life, as a methodology, however we want to pack. I think there is huge merit, and
I think we'll have to promote it, saying how it's going to benefit the person.
Yeah.
because everyone's looking for some method to work on themselves.
Yeah.
So if we share it with the world, especially in Bharat that you're doing, of how it's going to help you as a person emotionally, I think more people will take to it.
No, absolutely.
Because everybody's looking for what tools can I use to, work on myself. And what better to have a tool which is also engaging with other people. Like, see, when we say meditation, it's not for everybody. Whether they say, alone, sitting in silence. Everybody's not able to do it immediately. But here there will be a fun element also, people element also, and that very naturalness. So I think many people would be ready to take it if we just are able to tell them that is actually going to be healing you, not treatment, but healing, emotionally healing, and creating a shift in your personality also. I think many people, it's the need of the hour right now.
Yeah. And many people are invested in this in whichever shape and form they come. We have a large exposure, even today in India, to the West End, to London, to New York. Many people say, and we're already seeing, global theatre coming to India. How do we create a theatre ecosystem? We've been discussing a Mumbai, Pune belt with 8-10 theatres, so that a theatre district, something. I think all of that will create an ecosystem and a culture where then theatre percolates, and in language and in, different ways. I mean, there's so much one can technically do, and if we can see some shift in 10 years, I think the shift in the following 10 years can be far greater and more accelerated.
Actually, why theatre is not, because now we're connected to screens, right?
Correct.
So, but again, now we've reached a stage, too much screen exposure and what all it's done. So the difference between watching a movie on screen and watching a theatre, fundamental difference is vibration. The vibration of every actor is there. In a movie, the vibration of the actor is not there. You're just seeing a recording of what they had acted. But when it's like if you bring the same actor on the stage, the energy of the theatre will change. If you're just watching an actor on screen is different. Now you bring that same actor on stage and the whole energy will change because that actor will come with their energy. People will connect very differently to that actor. So if people just understand that vibrationally it's energizing for you, so theatre vibrationally would be better than movie because here you are in an energy space which is working. So even that will be one way of bringing them back to it.
And every time you perform, there is that
the viewer also, I'm saying, even the audience.
I'm talking about the audience. You will impact the audience differently. Different audiences will get impacted differently.
Every night is a different night.
You have a particular age group, a particular gender audience, and you just shift that. The impact will be different. There's so much innovation, opportunity to kind of think of this more. And I think we come down to your point, ultimately appreciating that person, right, rather than their accomplishments. And I keep going back, like that movie you did with your grandfather, say for example Sam Manekshaw. I think the achievements were there, but the person got recognized in the movie, right? Tell us, how did the movie come about? And
you're talking about that documentary that was done by Parzor,
and also the movie now with.
So the movie was its own amazing thing, but the documentary that was done was basically the Jessica Gupta who directed it. She basically said, I want him to tell this story as if he's telling it to his grandchildren. Like, so that's why she brought me in and said, please do this. And so I got to just basically say, come Sam, tell me these stories and all. And I think maybe because he told it to me, it changed the way he told it also. And so I think that's what worked over there. But yeah, I think what you said earlier is, and what Sister said earlier was this idea of the to be seen, to be heard, to be recognized is for us to see ourselves in each other and to see the other person and to feel seen is where communing becomes real again. And I completely resonate with this idea of what has screens done and all. I think everyone is hungry in this loneliness or in the isolation, in the mental health epidemics that are happening and all of that. Everyone is looking for community. People are looking for live experience again. And I think there's a recognition now that this information digital age taken to this extent may be bad for us, and we need to find each other again. And social media and all has a great play to help people find each other, but if they can't then retranslate that back into that shared energy space, that shared live space where we breathe the same air, we have a problem.
You hear of many cases where, school, someone said, I met these people after 40 years. Thanks to Facebook, thanks to social media, we were able to connect. But the joy that they got was when they met in person.
Yeah.
After so many years, you might have connected and on a birthday wish each other, but that becomes after a while mechanical. But that 1 hour you spend, after like 30 years is that energy. So nothing can take away that real energy that people feel. And I think theatre is probably, of course, there's music, which is also now becoming, experiential. And we're seeing a surge of people wanting to go to music concerts and feel
yeah.
the live energy.
Anything that's live event. The live event.
We call it, even in our digital business, the resurgence of live experiential or experience. I think it's coming back after the pandemic with a greater bang, because people realize that during the pandemic they enjoyed that, or of course it was a tough time, it took a toll on many people, but now you want to feel that energy again, because somewhere people in the world felt depleted of energy, from that angle, so I think figuring out how to take this to the next level has only increased the number of things, Jehan, that you probably need to work towards.
I think that we are trying to do that. The first thing is to frame that it is equally important to nurture the soul as it is to eat or to nurture the mind. And nurturing the soul and nurture, I would say, the community soul, the group entity. I don't think we're supposed to all live in. Yes, there's an individual part of us. The world is full of atoms, but the atoms then make molecules, and it's the molecules that go on to do different things. If you want to use a science analogy, if you want to use an IT analogy, this is the hardware. Now, can we find different operating systems or different software that improve it? And I think that theatre is a software for us that we need, just like meditation was there. I often tell people that what yoga does for the individual mind, body and soul, as a knowledge system, as a set of exercises, as a set of practices, we have to start looking at theatre as being the knowledge system and the set of exercises and practices that is like a community yoga. It's good for the community mind, the community body, the community soul. And this is what I really believe. So we have to do these things. Then the idea of the Mumbai Theatre District is to show people that yes, you can also attract people. In the UK, families tend to budget in their monthly budget. They budget the fact that I will take my children and my family by train from our suburb to central London, and we will watch a play. And the whole affair will cost the family 500, 800 pounds.
Yeah, it's expensive.
Right?
Yeah.
It's expensive. But they will do it religiously once a month because watching theatre is good for us. And we must see a play. It's a way of life. And then those kids get inspired and they go back to their school, and in the school there's a community play, there's something, and it's all, it takes a haan ye bhi hai, and this is an important part of my life. And I think that that's a very important part. So I think the idea of a district is a beacon to say come and do this and help that mindset change. And the second one is to get people to understand that it is important to nurture the soul as much as and our whole being as a whole, and our sense of society and social, as much as it is healthcare or education, etc. It can't be first this, then that. These things need to come up together for a meaningful society, for a happy society.
Yeah, and as we get young people to appreciate even the scientific part behind this, like, you talked of atoms becoming molecules. It's all energy, and when you view it, it becomes your classical theory and you become matter. And once the view is gone, then matter is gone. And that's exactly what happens with life, and it's a journey. So science is now is also moving towards the same thing, that the consciousness or the source of everything physical is also just a wave or a piece of is energy, and you are able to, there's a point in time when it happens. So there's no space and time beyond that point, right? And I'm saying we're coming back to that now. We're coming back with theater, with science, spirituality, in more ways than one in this conversation, to show and draw the importance of what you started, the life and theater. It's
But
one.
I was just thinking, if we start this in schools, right from, because even when we did drama in school, it was just few children who would be part of it. They'll say, who wants to do it?
And the confident ones would go and do it.
Would.
Yeah.
So I think everyone should do it. So probably these depression figures going on the rise in student life, this could be one way, that you start really young, but you make every child be a part of it, not just 10, 20 children of the class, but every child be a part of it. It makes them more expressive, and especially with screens, children also, their ability to connect to everybody or to express themselves, it's like, so this could be one of the ways, one of the ways to even counter the impact of screens and technology learning.
So many things for us and for our audiences to go back and look deeper into this, but I'm sure this is just the beginning of a conversation that will, enrich society and hopefully get more people involved in understanding theatre and therefore participating in building, this, for India and for the world. We can go on discussing, but we'll move to the last section of this podcast. Jehan, it's a little mindful minute, just some few questions so that people get to know you and maybe a little bit something else that people learn from this. Which actor inspires you the most?
I love this Gary Oldman. In terms of, I loved Gary Oldman. Do you want to know why?
Yeah, good enough. You can go why. Yeah.
Just because he used to play these villainous characters that were just such fun to watch, and you just knew that the actor behind the villainous character was really enjoying themselves, and so that's why I just get very entertained.
The hero looks like a hero because there's a villain. And I think in a whole world, and to your point, there will always be people of different types because of the sanskar, whatever journey they are on, and you have to be able to joyfully accept them. As you do in a play, right? You're in a play, you don't actually make that person evil. But in our own households, if somebody does, you carry so much, grudge and this against people. It's not so. So I like the fact that you picked a villain as a character. One quality that your grandfather, in your grandfather, you Sam, because we have to ask that question, you admire the most.
He was an infinite well of love. He said, no matter what happens in life and all, you have to just love. He said two important things: love your family, just love and family. That was it. And he just showed me how to do things with love. That's one of the qualities I admire most of it.
One play that everyone must watch in their lifetime.
There's this beautiful play called Life is a Dream. It's by a Spanish playwright called Calderón de la Barca, and it's a beautiful play about. It's a long story. Life is a Dream is the play.
Is it still playing somewhere?
No. It's just a script. It's a script I've read. I've seen a version of it. I've always loved it.
So maybe we should create it again.
It's one of my dream projects to do. Yeah.
What's your best advice to an aspiring theatre artist?
Know why you're pursuing this career, because that will fuel them into the future versus some notional why that comes out of a sense of celebrity or fame or something like that. Know your why. Why do you want to do theatre? Why do you want to get up on stage in front of people every day and bare your soul, or share a story and do the hard work? Sometimes, a lot of the time, non-rewarding until you manage to crack that piece of applause. So know your why, because you need a very strong sense of certainty before you take this step.
And the last one, what is your most rewarding moment, as a teacher? Because you have now, kind of spent a large part of your life, taking this as a medium of education. What's the most rewarding?
As a teacher, you've been working with the kids and they're trying to solve something, and you step in to help them get past their problem, and they tell you to butt out because they know what they're doing and they'll figure it out for themselves. When they take that independence from you and you realize you're not there to show them anything but hold space for them to find their own way, that is the most rewarding people. So when I've been told, like, sir, go away, leave us alone, we want to figure this out, we'll show you something in a bit, I'm like, my work is done.
We have the most, accomplished teacher or someone who is helping the world discover, themselves within this space of the world. I want to pose the same question to you. What is your rewarding moment when you interact with so many people?
Their change, their transformation, their healing, their becoming instrument for healing other people. Nothing more beautiful than that. Nothing more beautiful than that.
So we're all aligned on a common mission.
Yes.
I think there's an interconnectedness to be able to help people do that and make people discover. And I think everybody who's viewing this podcast can also become that agent for change and really create a better world. Thank you. Thank you, Jehan. Thank you, Sister Shivani.
Thank you.
You too can start or enhance your mindfulness journey using the ThinkRight app on iOS and Android store. It's got a huge number of daily affirmations, daily journeys, daily meditations that will enable us to hold your hand as you move in this transformative journey of life.